What about 1950? What are the prospects for business and labor and farmers and consumers? How does it look for 50? That is the question. This is America United, the informal roundtable program heard on the NBC network each week at this time. The transcribed program where business, labor, and agriculture openly discuss their differences, united in the belief they should be openly discussed. Host today is the National Grange, represented here by J.T. Sanders. Our other guests, O.V. Wells of the Department of Agriculture, Emerson P. Schmidt of the Chamber of Commerce of the United States, and Everett Casselow of the Congress of Industrial Organizations. Our moderator is David Brinkley, NBC Washington commentator. Mr. Brinkley.
On this, the last broadcast of America United in 1949, we're going to take a look ahead at 1950 and at what it offers, what it promises, threatens, and how it looks.
The U.S. spent the first 10 months of 1949 in a recession.
For farmers and consumers.
Competition for the advertising dollar was stiffer. There were now over 2,600 AM and FM radio stations in the country, and TV was becoming a serious threat. Over 100 TV stations were on the air. Only 2 network radio shows had ratings higher than a 20. Just 2 years earlier, they were a 15. Radio's average top 50 ratings were their lowest since 1937, and network radio revenue dropped for the first time since 1933.
In one word, I would say I expect next year to be about normal. That means we don't think it's either going to be too good or too bad.
Meanwhile, NBC, ABC, CBS, and the Dumont Network reported a combined TV income of $29.4 million. But advertisers were learning that TV production costs were much greater than radio's. The extra money had to come from somewhere. Radio budgets were the likely source.
But it'll still be a pretty good year for workers, for the consumer, and for business.
On December 18, 1949, NBC broadcast an episode of America United with a panel discussion on estimates and predictions concerning 1950. It was moderated by David Brinkley, at the time NBC's Washington commentator.
One could say 1949 was a good year. I would add that I think you've got to try to judge this thing on sort of a sweep basis. We began to get unemployment problems in this year, and we have the feeling that they'll be somewhat more acute in 1950. That does not mean one should look or expect a major depression or economic collapse. But the outlook is for levels somewhat down from 1949.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Sanders of the National Grange.
Well, Mr. Brinkley, I would agree with Mr. Wells over here pretty well. So far as business, so far as wage income is concerned, and so far as industrial income and production is concerned.
The post-World War II world had been chaotic. Europe was rebuilding slowly as the U.S. and Russia became the 2 superpowers. That same day, as the Philadelphia Eagles were beating the Los Angeles Rams in the 1949 NFL championship game, Nikita Khrushchev was made the Soviet Communist Party's secretary of the Central Committee, and single-party communist elections were held in Bulgaria. 2 days later, Joseph Stalin was awarded the Order of Lenin as part of celebrations for his 70th birthday.
This trend can do very serious damage because it doesn't take very much of the for income of agriculture to drop if costs remain high to seriously affect the net income.